I did have one question. I don't know if Leighton remembered his question yet, but this is a question I was going to ask you. Sorry to interrupt and go back to IPM, but I was just wondering, is there are there some foliars that you really want to avoid spraying if you've already released benefits?
If you release beneficial, if you use,
I like that, and I just want to comment on Mad Dog's comment. Obviously, Mad Dog is in the UK and he's ready to celebrate 420. So.
Okay. Thanks. Yes. Oh yeah, 420 day. Okay. Anyway, so yes, for sprays, Bovaria. I prefer to use it during propagation, during vegetative. I would never pass the 3rd week of flowering, because if you have to test your things, a COA, they might mistake the Bovaria as a nasty fungus. They don't differentiate. So that would be careful with that. Anything that damages trichomes, if you can use a cold fogger, it's always the best. Cold fogger does the best application without dripping, especially for Bovaria. You don't want, it's the best way to spray Bovaria is with a cold fogger. Be careful not to heat fogger, but a cold fogger. They will kill off the spores if there's a heat. And that way, it really does you use less product, and you don't miss a spot. And it doesn't. When you use Bovaria, you don't want it to drip off the plants. You want a good coverage, but you don't want it to drip off the plants. It makes it less efficient. Oils or soaps will kill all predatory mites. So if you have to use these, really, you use them before. Once the soap or the oil is dried up, then you can release your predator without any harm. Because if not, you're just throwing your money out. It doesn't worth it. You shouldn't use the predators if you want to really want to spray all the time. In Canada, you have to be careful. The only 4 products are approved, like 4 of the most used products are Copa, Opal, Nudasan, and Exile, and it's all the same thing. 47% of potassium salts of fatty acid. So after a while, it denatures the trichomes, I would say. I am not a big fan. For sure, it works. I hate the smell. When I come in the facility, I say, "Oh, you use the Opal, Copa." I say, "Okay, do you know?" I know the smell. I hate that smell. So I'm not a big fan, and the certain company, I won't name the one, they're going around saying, "Oh, beneficial insects don't work. A good spraying program that's what works for IPM." So anyways, I'm not trying to start a war with them. It's like, for sure, soap could work, especially when you have to do a reset, like I would say. Like there's too many pests. Beneficial, you'd have to throw armies and armies and armies and armies, try to get over it. Then you can do a reset with an oil or a soap. You try not to be careful with the phytotoxicity also.
You don't want to mix the two.
Yeah, exactly. And the soap and all, they can like clog the stomata sometimes too. So you want to be careful with that. The fragile pistils and bracteals too. The spray with the trichomes to don't want to knock them down. This is an overfly he's showing. We're still figuring it out. It's not easy to use this predator. This is the larvae of the overfly we've seen before. It doesn't look at all like it's an adult. This is pupa. It is the adult will eat nectar and pollen, so it needs flowers. So in cannabis, we're just growing females that have no nectar, no pollen. Just once sporadically there will be some pollen if we're using males to produce seeds. So in cannabis facilities, I wasn't able to really test them yet, because these adults, they will lay their eggs next to the aphids, and their larvae are amazing predators of aphids. They will clean up colonies very fast, and they're like the worms in Doom, the movie Doom. they really look like crazy, like the way they grab an aphid and they jumping down like vertically, like it's like crazy. The way they and they're so big, they I don't know, they must spread a pheromone that puts the aphid to sleep, because the aphid never panics when they're there. They're like furtive.
Mm.
They're like so big, and then just there and inside the colony, chomping down on their little sisters. And aphids, it's like the other aphids don't budge, don't move. Like,
So I did remember my question, and I think you've just already clarified it. There is no soil phase for those candidate aphids. Everything's up in the canopy, correct?
yeah, meaning if the eggs haven't been laid in the ground, this will
So they do lay in the soil as well?
Yeah. Aphid, cannabis aphids, yeah.
And so is there a predatory nematode that will work on that life cycle, or the eggs that are in the soil?
There's still, I'm pretty sure that our predatory mites that eat any invertebrate eggs in soil will help to clean that. And maybe the rogue beetle too. But it's not something that's been studied yet because of the lack of cannabis studies in general, and the lack even more of cannabis aphid studies, because it's also new and nobody has wanted to put the money in it or at the time to do it. Very limited researchers, not many people doing the work. So yeah, you never it's the lack of that sort of research in this field. But we try to palliate with the best as we can on a smaller scale what we can do to associate ourselves like now I know that I have a good method to really start my plants clean when I have cannabis aphid with the Bovaria, and not just pushing our strain too. It works also with the competitor strain, the Botanigar, but Bioceres is more virulent for cannabis aphid, according to one researcher yet in Canada. So and a blend of Bovaria would be even better, I would say. Use 2 strains would work even better. But once you do it during propagation, because you spray it on your cuttings, and it's so humid, if you're doing it under domes or under curtains, it's always 80 to 100% almost relative humidity. The Bovaria catches like crazy, like that we even see after 8 or 9 days, we see the final stages that a lot of time we don't see.
That to me is worth another gold bar.
The fructification of the cordyceps, like we really see them as fuzzy white balls. Like we can count them, the aphids that were on the stems. Oh, there was one there, there was one there, there was one there.
That's I mean that's a great thing to do during the